So welcome everybody to what's new in Pega Customer Decision Hub for Pega Infinity 24/2. That's a mouthful, but I'm here. I'm Matt Nolan. I'm the Senior Director of Product Marketing for One-to-One Customer Engagement. And I've got Shoal Perlman. How about you?
I'm the VP of Product Management for One-to-One Customer Engagement.
Excellent. So we are here today to go through the 24/2 release. Shoal's going to do an overview for us. We're going to have a conversation about it. Shoal, so in 24/2, it feels like, as I'm looking through the different capabilities that we're releasing, that we've really focused on business and marketing types of capabilities in 24/2. Now, was that an intentional part of the strategy? Was that more the kind of way things rolled out?
It definitely was. I mean, we've been on this path to democratize next best action, make it something that isn't just for data scientists and data people. We want marketers to be able to make use of it.
So, is the whole release marketing then in business?
No.
Data and analytics folks have been our core forever, right? For a long time.
Don't worry about that. We got plenty. That sort of stuff happens naturally.
Okay, I had to take care of my people, so I had to make sure. So let's start with what you've done with next best action customer journeys. Now, journeys are a big topic in the market. People ask us all the time, how does next best action kind of work with journeys? Which one kind of work? So what are you ultimately releasing as part of 24/2? How's it going to work?
So I think I'll start with where we went with customer journeys at first.
Okay.
So back in 8.6, that was when we first recognized that, next best action makes a lot of sense, but marketers don't really get it deep down. They want to be able to visualize a progression, right? They want to see their actions in a format that looks similar and familiar to what they would have in their Visio diagrams, right? So we introduced that, and it was very true to the principles of next best action. So true that it actually considered all the actions, even though you were looking at them and they looked like a sequence.
Sure.
But now we've recognized that we actually need to make it a little bit easier to make real sequences, right? Because there are real situations where you actually don't want to consider some actions until a customer gets to a certain point in their journey. So one of the things we did in this release is make it much easier and straightforward to configure what it actually means to be in a particular stage of a journey, that some other action must have happened before you can consider these actions here.
Okay, so you're still kind of staying true to the core of next best action, but it seems like you also can do sequence journeys, especially in small bits, like you'd need in some place like healthcare, right, where you have to do things in a specific order, or people get in trouble. So is that fair? It's you're kind of taking the best of both worlds.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. I think normally in financial services, it would be somebody starts filling out an application. You don't want to nag them to finish the application if they never started it.
Okay.
Right?
Is it also true? So I've heard rumblings that this used to be, we used to configure actions inside of Next Best Action Design, right? And I've heard that we're kind of bringing that forward and putting it right in the marketer's hands in One-to-One Operations Manager. Is that accurate?
That's right. We've actually been on this progression for a couple of years now, recognizing that we need to really take the business as usual change management process and make that something that's way easier in a case management way for the people who are actually doing these marketing operations every day. And so that's why we took journey management, journey creation out of NBA Designer, and we put it into Ops Manager as part of the case.
Okay, so that you're putting it in control of the line of business of the person that's actually, accountable for the metrics.
Exactly.
Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay. Now, as you go through these journeys, which might extend out over time, it could be really short, but it could go out over time, go over multiple channels, touch multiple products, lines of business, different business issues. That can get really convoluted. At least that's the fear that clients have. But I know you've done some work in this release to make sure you maintain the brand voice, really the integrity of that kind of experience. So what have you done with brand voicing?
So it really starts with what we did with generative AI in the 23 release.
Okay.
And so there we recognize that the brain really does a great job when it has a lot of content to choose from. But one of the problems is you need a lot of people, right, to generate that content. And so we thought, hey, let's put generative AI to work to help our clients build out more richness into their action library, right? So they're using Value Finder. Value Finder says, hey, I found an underserved set of people that you have nothing interesting to say to. Generative AI will help you come up with content. But what we found, the reaction that we got back from our clients who tried it out is they said, this is helpful, but it doesn't sound like me, right? This text doesn't sound like something that represents my brand voice.
Sure, and that's a hard thing to do.
It is. And so that's why in this release what we did is we said, hey, show us your best content that you really feel is a good example of the way you would speak and we'll analyze that text and we'll use that brand voice for generating new pieces of text.
So you're kind of extracting the brand voice out of the copy and then extrapolating it into what you're creating.
You got it, exactly.
Okay, so actually it's a way to kind of just make sure the brand, the integrity of the brand remains intact no matter where you are.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
So if I think back, I was a marketer for years and years and years, right? And I think part of my process was always, hey, I'm going to run a campaign. I have to look at my audience. I'm going to build out my offer. I'm going to get counts of this thing, and I'm going to take it through a process, right? So with Next Best Action, the idea is that you select the best action for the person, which isn't necessarily the same thing as a traditional campaign.
Right.
So I know you've created some capabilities to really look at reach inside of this. This is something that I'd really want to know as a marketer. So how does that work inside of, how does Reach Explorer work inside?
So Reach Explorer is really about answering that question of how many people could possibly get this action, right? When you're coming in inbound on a website, nobody really thinks about, well, how many people are going to see an action about credit cards versus mortgages, because they figure like, hey, if they're going to the mortgage site, they should see something about mortgages.
You just want to make it relevant.
You just want to make it relevant, exactly. But for outbound, the people who are setting up this content, they still have to answer to somebody else, right? They're still held accountable for, if they're in charge of a travel card, they're asked like, hey, how many people did you actually get this travel card in front of, right? So we wanted to make that a lot easier for them. Now, they could have done this with a simulation, right? But even that requires a little bit of forethought. You got to wait for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We wanted to just give them what they're asking for.
Just make it really easy for them to get that, to understand, here's generally how many people I'm going to talk to as part of this. And then they can actually talk to their constituents inside of the line of business, the people they're accountable to produce metrics for, right?
Yeah, or they might have to tweak something to get to the numbers that they're expecting.
Okay. Now, if you get a little bit further downstream, Pega's really never gotten into the delivery of messages, right? We've always that's something that we've always used either partners for or the clients that we work with have ESPs and other delivery engines. But we're changing that in 2014. And I know that you've got a really good rationale for it. So we call it Message Stream. So talk to me a little about Message Stream and why we're actually using that.
So one of the things that's been funny is we've had the ability to do outbound Next Best Action, outbound emails for years, right? A decade. And I still run into clients who are using us for inbound and they say, oh, wow, I didn't realize that you guys could do outbound.
Literally talked to one yesterday. Yeah, I'm 100%.
And so we've come to the realization that there's actually friction in the system to being able to use outbound just because we didn't have it built into the product.
Okay, so is this more, because it could, with ESPs, you could get into a capabilities war with that sort of thing. It's really not about that. It's really about just making it simpler for organizations to pick up and use this without having to go through the contractual struggles, the integration. Like, it's just kind of going to be built for them.
Exactly. Like, clients have had to pick an email service provider, and maybe they pick one that we have an out-of-the-box connector for, maybe they don't, and then they have to pay a consultant to build a connector, right? We wanted to make that all go away, make it easy to just say, hey, I want to do outbound, and you can do it all through Pega.
So if you want to be one-to-one, we can make that easier for you. That's kind of the direction that you're going with this. Okay. So I know you promised a little while ago to my audience that we weren't going to ignore the data, the analytics people. Right?
I did promise.
So I'm going to make you put your money where your mouth is.
As you should.
Talk to me, like, what kinds of capabilities are in this release that they're going to care about?
Yeah, so one thing I'm really excited about is the ability to go and import models that were produced in Python and actually execute them in CDH.
Okay.
So it's called ONNX.
Okay.
And ONNX allows you to think of it as like freeze drying a Python model, bring it into CDH, and then at decision time, it'll actually be able to evaluate, rescore that model.
Okay. And ONNX, for the folks out there, stands for Open Neural Network Exchange.
Thank you.
Right. And I think the idea is that you don't have to, a lot of folks have wanted to use third-party AI services and things like that. This makes it so you don't actually have to call out to a service in real time. You can take that model, like you said, the freeze-dried model, use it in real time so you can still hit the SLAs that you'll need for stuff like this. Like, for use cases might be like, I think maybe...
Well, especially like even like inbound, right? If you're coming on the web where milliseconds matter, right? So if you have 70 milliseconds that you can spend and you're spending 20 or 30 milliseconds calling outside, that's too long, right? We really want to be able to do that in the product.
Gotcha. Okay, so you talked a little bit about Python from that perspective, but I know you've got a little bit bigger initiative to bring Python kind of and bring it closer to what we're doing with CDH. How's that work?
Yeah, so that's another great example of where we want to embrace data scientists even more, right? They are often in situations in their companies where they're on the front lines having to explain how the decisions are being made, right? What's actually going on within CDH? And we want them to be able to figure that out using the tools that they're comfortable with. Typically, that is that they've written some Python scripts themselves,
Absolutely.
and they need access to the data. So what we did here is we introduced the ability for them to be able to call into CDH from their Python scripts and be able to do their own analysis.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm going to take that a little step further. So let me ask you this. So those data scientists rely on data to do everything that they do, right? Like in one way or another, they have to house it, they have to store it, they have to do ETL, all that. That can get complicated. And I know that you've done some work on, from a data integration perspective to make it easier to consume that kind of information. What's that look like?
So another trend that we're seeing is clients are building up their own customer profile data estates in cloud native databases. For example, Google's BigQuery. And so we wanted to make it really easy to be able to get that data, reach out, and be able to use it directly in CDH without having to build a bunch of custom ETL jobs.
Gotcha. So I know Google BigQuery. Did I also hear Snowflake?
Snowflake. Yep.
Okay.
Snowflake.
So we've got integrations built for both of those, and I know you're going to keep developing those as we go along.
Oh, definitely. We actually have a long roadmap where we're going to make it even faster to be able to get information at decision time.
Awesome. I have one more for you that I thought was particularly compelling to me. So top performing actions. If you really think about it, if you're in any organization, you might have hundreds, you might even have, in some cases, thousands of different actions that you're looking at, right? Trying to keep abreast of what's really working well can be difficult, right? As you're trying to kind of curate your next best action library. So what have you done in 24.2 to help kind of help that curation process, to help understand kind of across?
Yeah, and it's it's funny how it came about. In the last release, we introduced CDH Assistant, right, which is a chatbot, and you can ask questions. And we found that one of the questions that clients loved the most was, tell me what my best and worst actions were.
Sure.
They loved it so much that we realized, wait a minute, we actually don't even need to use the chatbot for it. We can actually put that in Action Performance Tracker, which is what we did.
Which is really valuable. If you think, like, if you're really looking and you have a big library and you want to make sure that you can keep it healthy, if you will, you can look and see, okay, which actions are actually not performing. Then you can basically just sort and figure out, okay, which are my best performers? Let's make more like that.
Exactly. What have I done well that I can do more of?
It's perfect. Okay, and with that, I think, Shoal, we're probably out of time. So if you folks are interested in Pega Infinity 24.2, what's new in Customer Decision Hub, please go to Pega Community. That's going to be your home for everything Shoal just talked about. We'll have videos on each one of these capabilities, and we'll really be diving into a little even deeper into what we're doing with data, what we're doing for marketers. So please, again, Pega Community. And I'm Matt Nolan, and on behalf of Shoal Perlman, just want to say thank you for giving us your time.